I need to figure out how to just let people just join as they want.
How are you, Hayley?
To.
Can you hear me?
I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, good, mate. So I'm just walking along. There's a guy mowing the green over there. So sorry if it's a bit loud.
Much nicer view than my office.
Just went to my
That's
son's assembly this morning, so I'm just walking back from school now. Right.
I thought that might be your lawn, John, in your mansion. We'll get there one day. We'll get there one day. We've got someone mowing your mansion. Amazing, cool. We'll get going then. Thank you everyone for. Yeah, sorry.
James, have you got this on? You got this on record, James?
Yes, I am recording this. Yes, obviously, yeah. We'll share this round the group after, but I appreciate everyone attending as people. Attend as people arrive. I'll also invite them as well. But yeah, appreciate Tom and Hayley and the IAM Sold people doing this today. Obviously, I'll share this recording round our group. I guess a bit of a kind of an introduction. When I used to think of auctions back in the day, personally, I thought that the agent lost control of the transaction. I was quite nervous to pass that client on. I thought that I'd never really hear back, and I thought it was more for bad stuff. Yeah, so I wasn't really aware of
distressed sales, anything that's kind of got like issues or problems. You always think it would be only suited. So that's what I thought anyway. It would always be like the difficult stuff that you can't sell normally.
Yeah, exactly. I've now done 2 transactions through IAM Sold, and I'm very pleasantly surprised at the whole transaction and how smooth it was and how quickly I got paid, and also that the client was also very happy with the whole process as well. So I'm very much learning about this. I've done 2, but I think in this uncertain times, I think vendors may be asking more about this service, and I want to learn more so I can then go on my valuations to offer this service as well, but also talk about it in confidence, not just say we do this, but also to really understand what it is so I can then add more value on the valuations as well. So I think that's the introduction done now. Is Tom back on, Hayley?
It's okay. I'll take over if that's all right.
Perfect. Yes, over to you, Hayley. So can you give us an introduction about who you are, IAM Sold, your relationship with EXP, and then obviously kind of going into the actual service and how it works for vendors as well?
Okay, so I'm Hayley. I'm the account manager for EXP. So IAmProperty, which is IAM Sold, have a concierge team. So everybody you'll deal with only exclusively works with EXP. So from October last year, we decided we'd ring fence a team and give you some exclusivity. The way you guys work is very different to a lot of other high street agents. So the way we work with you guys is very different as well. We've bespoke the service to work like you do. We have simple things like WhatsApp communications. We know you guys don't always read all your emails because you're that busy. You've not always got time to answer the phone. So all our team have WhatsApp. And John and James will attest to that there's WhatsApp groups. You can always get hold of us if you want to send a video note, if you want to send a WhatsApp message. There's always somebody on hand to help you, even if somebody on the team is out of the office. What I want to do is, will it let me present this? I've not used Google Meets, I'm sorry. James, before?
Yeah, if you hit share your screen, that will, I'll get that request. I can then approve that.
Let me just go on to here. Apologies, I wasn't presenting originally, was I?
No, it's all right. We go with the flow. And how long has IAM Sold been set up for?
Okay, so IAM Property has been around for 16 years. We're the market leader of the industry of auctions. We do around 1,000 sales a month. I'm just going to show you some figures when this comes up. Yeah. Myself personally, I was an estate agent for 25 years and ran a 6-branch agency up north. We do have expertise on our team, though. We have auction specialists that work in the north, in the south. So Jade will be the auction specialist that lives just outside London. So we have a southern number. So don't worry, you're not going to be speaking to northerners all the time. Let me, come on.
Yeah, so we can see that.
Right, that's fine. Let me just go into my screen and see if I can go onto here. Can you see that all right?
Yeah.
So who I am sold. So I am sold are the largest auction provider. We've got approximately 800 staff that work for us at the moment. There's plenty of different parts of the business. You might use us already for Move Butler, which is our AML and conveyancing. We also have a CRM system. We also have a prospecting with our marketing toolkit, and we have I Am Sold. So we are an ecosystem of solutions. So there's lots of different products that we have, but the brolly of the company is IAM Property, and we are I Am Sold. Let me just go into the next screen. These are just some of the headline statistics of last year's figures. So we sold 10,991 properties. It says we work with 6,500 agents. It's more like 7,000 agents now. So around you guys, Hamptons, Martin Gerrard. We do have a project called Project London at the moment where we are recruiting agents in central London, so the M25. We sell all sorts of properties. It says £1.9 million is the most expensive in 2024. We have beaten that this year. Our most expensive property is £2.4 million. So it's really not about the property. So why you choose auction? So modern auction is the hybrid between traditional auction and open market. So if you've got a property that the sale has fallen through, is it a marriage breakdown? Are they moving into care home? Have they inherited a property? Those sort of reasons where speed and security is more important. James, you partnered with an agent with one in Chester. What was the story on that one?
That was with Paul and Karen. That was my old school friend. That was an issue with a local agent. That local agent was awful. Karen and Paul actually advised, let's use I Am Sold. And then that one was quite a very smooth transaction. Obviously, it was priced attractively to kind of get the people in. It wasn't the father had passed away. So the kids didn't need to sell, but they were quite keen to kind of get it sold and a bit of certainty after the previous agent hadn't sold it. So I think it was certainty that they wanted.
Yeah. So my boss, Scott, says one thing really good. In an uncertain market, we sell certainty because it allows vendors to have control of what they want to take for the property as well. Oh, come on. My slides are not working now. Right, I'll jump into this slide if this lets me do it. Can you see that one okay?
We've got the auction reimagined one.
So that one's not coming up. Okay, so the difference between the three sales. So private treaty, we all know the issues with the property, that most sales now are taking in excess of 200 days. Gone are the days to 6 to 8 weeks for completion. Technology you think would help, but it's not. 70% of transactions complete, so 1 in 3 sales fall through nationally. Probably with EXP, it's not as high as that. There's no commitment from buyer and the vendor pays the selling fees. Obviously, we also offer traditional auction, which is property driven, very much homes in the hammer, talk about the elephant in the room. Obviously, that's immediate exchange of contracts and 99% certainty it's going to complete. The buyers pay a non-refundable reservation fee and the vendors pay no selling fees and they pay a 10% deposit. So they'll immediately exchange contracts and completion will be in 28 days. Our modern method of auction, or what we like to call our secure sale method, and we find that using trying to stay away from the A word really helps, is the hybrid route between the two. With that, there's a bit more flexibility as well. So buyers buying under the modern auction method, 65% of all sales will go through with some form of mortgage. The difference is they're not exchanging immediately. So they have 56 days to exchange and complete. Again, the vendors aren't going to be paying selling fees. It's not the reason they'll pick us, but it's the reason they'll have the conversation. So it kind of also takes away the conversation of fees straight away. So when you're going to talk to clients, you're asking them about which service they'd like to sell. So then the conversation regards the fee becomes the second conversation rather than the first conversation. We've all been in properties where as soon as you're through the door, the vendor's wanting to know what you charge for selling, or they're on the phone before you've even been through the door. What do you charge? So it gives you the opportunity to say we've got a range of options from 0%. Is Tom back on now?
No. No.
Let's have a look.
Matt has a question.
Morning,
away.
Hayley. Morning, Hayley. The reservation fee, what sort of level is that so that we know how committed that buyer potentially is?
So the buyer is going to be paying 4.5%, subject to a minimum of 6,600.
Thank you.
So that's explained. When you send a lead over to us, we talk to the vendor about that as well. So we're explaining that to them. So just as a rule of thumb, when you're looking at a property and think, is it going to work for this? You've got to think the vendor's going to have to set the reserve price at no more than 90% as they would do on the open market. The reserve price is a hidden figure. That figure is never divulged by us or you guys. What you can say is us. You'll set the property as a guide price, and the guide price will always be within 10% of the reserve price, lower. So say, for example, a property is £1 million, we could have the reserve price at £1 million with the start price of 900,000. So the price is to get people through the door. So in an open market, if a vendor is looking to achieve £1 million, you probably put it on the open market at 1.1. Is that correct assumption?
Most of us actually adopt a guide price strategy, where we normally, if it is worth just over 1 million,
yeah,
some may do 1.1. I personally do a guide price of a guide price of 1 to 1.1.
Okay.
So
how
it kind
you,
of depends on the agent, really.
yeah, so it's the same sort of thing. So we'd put the reserve at £1 million, and we could have the start price anything up from 900,000. We might decide that 100,000 is probably too much to get somebody up, and we might start the guide at 950. Also, we look into the right move brackets as well to make sure we're getting the maximum views on the property as well at that time. Come on.
And the one that I was selling in Kingston, I don't think we actually met the reserve price initially, but you then fed back to the vendor who actually reduced that because they still wanted to get to basically sell quickly. So can you run us through how that would happen?
Sorry, James, repeat that. My signal went for a minute.
That's right. So the one in Kingston that I sold, we didn't actually hit the reserve price, but you then gave feedback to the vendor about no one's offering that. Therefore, they reduced their price because they were still keen to sell.
Yeah. So what we do is, the way to understand how our auctions work, they're a bit like an eBay in a way. So everything is online. So when you instruct a property to sell with us, we put that in pre-marketing. So what is different to most other auction providers, we don't have a set time frame for a property auction. So the last thing we want to do is run a live auction cycle with no interest, because if you've got no interest and you put a property into a live auction cycle, it's going to devalue the property. So what we do is, when we're doing the pre-auction marketing, we're getting the auction pack together. The auction pack is all the legal work you would normally do before putting the house on the market. We're understanding how much interest we've got. James, did that property go into a live auction cycle?
It was myself and Jessica in, so I don't know what that means by the live or auction cycle.
Was people bidding online, or was the agreement done before the auction was set live?
I don't think we had enough interest to actually have those bids.
Okay.
But I think it's important to say that it's still the agent who handles the transaction, where it's still our client. It's still us that does the actual viewings. I thought with auctions that it gets passed to someone that you don't know about, but it's still very much us handling the whole buyer process as well. So I think that's important to know.
I'll go through that process.
Amazing.
So what I was trying.
Sorry, Hayley, can I just ask a quick question myself? So it's okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the auction pack. Can you just explain, before we go further, what that is and what it entails and what it has in it?
So basically, an auction pack has everything a solicitor would normally do post-sale agreed. So you have your local searches, your land searches, if it needs mining searches, if it needs a radon search, any other searches it needs, it'll have it in there. It'll have all your pre-contract inquiries, your fixtures and fittings, TA6, your TA10, everything you need, bar pre-contract inquiries. So basically, when your solicitor gets the pack, the buyer gets the pack to review, everything is there. Obviously, if they've not agreed to purchase it, it'll have redacted information on there, but there's enough for them to make a decision on purchasing the property.
Hayley, just on that, so in London, certainly in my area, there's a big proportion of sales will be leasehold.
Yeah.
And therefore you require a management pack from the
Management
freeholder.
pack, yeah, we do. Yeah, with
So-
leasehold properties, we ask for a copy of the management pack. We'll help the vendor get that off the management company as well. So
Okay.
we'll go to the management company, we'll find out the cost for that, relay that back to the vendor and ask them to pay that.
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so with freehold properties, the vendors will only pay 495 for the auction pack. With the leasehold properties, they're going to pay 495 plus their auction for their leasehold pack.
Okay. So it's the 495 is just basically administration. Does that include the searches as well?
Yeah, it includes the searches and the search guarantee on it as well. So for any reason the searches go out of date or need new one refreshing, that's all covered on that, no problem at all. So what would be really good for you guys to do when you've got chance, when you get off this meeting, is literally go on the IAM Sold website, register yourself. There's no restriction to registration. All we ask is for your name, your address, your telephone number and your email address. You can then go on, find a property and you can literally download the auction pack. So we're not asking for your ID. We're not asking for your proof of funds. There's no restrictions there. So if somebody's seen a property and they're unsure if they want to get involved, you could literally, we can send you the link or you can get it off the website yourself, whichever works for you guys best. They can go along, have a look at the pack, take that letter to solicitors, review it themselves before they even view the property. So it's like going into a shop and trying a dress on and really feeling the textures of it. They're having more information than we normally would be. If anybody's as old as I am and did agency, it's basically a hit pack. There's a question?
Yeah, Akira?
Yeah, so once they've got the pack,
Yeah.
if they have a mortgage, can they then take that to their broker or lender?
Yeah, no problem at all. So if they want to get a survey done before they agree the property, they can do as well. So as agents, you'll just give them access. The only thing that they won't have is a price agreed until they buy, if that makes sense. So on the mortgage application, they may have to put a figure in for the time being, unless we agree a pre-deal. So when I was talking to James then about the pre-deal, so he had this property, it was marketed, we did the viewings and there wasn't enough interest. So we had a conversation with the vendors, which we would do on instruction anyway, to explain this is the process we work. If we've got somebody that wants to buy it now, we'll get the property sold rather than set the auction live. So what we don't want is running an auction, nobody's going to bid. But in the same argument, if we get 2 or 3 people want to buy it, why do we need to run a 28-day auction cycle like the big auction houses will do? Why don't we run an auction for 48 hours or 5 days? Because we all know that time kills a deal as well. Does that make sense so far, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how the process works in a nutshell, you go out to see a vendor, you'll have a conversation. The more you do it, the easier it'll get and the more training we can give you. There is also bite-sized training on our Success Hub. So if you want to go and do some go away, you learn better by looking yourself, I can send you those links over to do it. So you send us the link over from the vendor. You can send it via Loop or you can send it on WhatsApp, whichever works for you guys better. For the first initial lead, we'll talk you through it and hold your hand. We'll then have a conversation with you before we speak to the vendor. We'll also be the bad cop to your good cop. So if you've got a price in mind that you've spoken to the vendor, but you actually think it's slightly less, please have that open and honest conversation with your auction specialist, your dedicated one. Tell them what you think. You might have said to a vendor £1 million at the property, but you're probably thinking more 900,000. We've also got market insights as well, because we sell so many properties. We've got data that we can look at within 1 square mile, 5 square miles to look at what we've sold as comparables. We never value the property. We rely on you guys for the local expertise. We'll advise them on a marketing strategy. So the vendors will set a guide price, the guide price, but the vendors will set the reserve price. But we'll really drill into and ask the reasons for selling. So the emotional drivers for selling, what the plan B is, the financial drivers, is there any mortgages on there? Is there a second charge? So our calls are probably about half an hour. So our financial questions are probably a bit more in depth than they will be with you guys. So it allows us to be a bit, and I think being on the end of the phone as well, rather than face to face, sometimes vendors open up a little bit more. And many times we've spoken to vendors, they've said one price to the vendors and another to us. If the vendors don't want to go ahead, there's a couple of options. We can send the agreement out on DocuSign and get them signed up. If they're already on the market with you, our contract will just put yours on pause and sit on top. There is the opportunity for you guys to get them signed up in the front room as well. If then the agreement comes to us, then we have the conversation with the vendor. It doesn't stack up. We can then rip up the contract if we need to, which at the end of the day, they're your clients and you control the relationship. We are just your partner. Hi, Jonathan.
Yeah, just quick one on point of instruction. So if I'm sat with a client and they want to instruct and go forward with the auction side of things, do I still go through the same process of AML, or is that covered by yourselves?
So if they're on the open market with you already, we can take your AML. If they're not on the market, we'll do the AML for you. So again, it's something you decide if you want to charge your clients for the AML or if you're happy for us to do it. We can send you it over. Kyla at head office will override and give you the codes as well. So we'll do that.
So
for the
from
buyers
if it's a fresh instruction, and I'm going to go through the process of getting them signed up, is that just a case of handing it off to you to get them signed up on contract, or would it be something
we can do the contract, or you can do the contract. Probably we'd always say initially, let us do them so you're a bit more confident. When
I'm up for leverage. If we can pass it to you and you can do it, then it's good for me.
That's the whole point. Hi, Josh, have you got a question?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
How long does it take from, let's say we had something that was live now or wanted to go live now, how long does it take you to get the whole pack together?
The pack usually, the only caveat I'll say is management companies. So if it was a freehold property, our average turnaround is 5 to 7 days at the moment. So by default, our law firm is in-house, is by default one of the biggest in the country, Medway Law. So we do everything in-house, so that allows us the speed and security of doing it. They can get their own solicitors to do it, but we highly advise against it because you know what solicitors are like. They take forever in a day. They usually charge up front as well, and they don't always give us the correct information we need. So if you can, just do the presumptive sell because they're not going to pay for it unless we sell it, and it's 495, and usually their solicitors are going to charge more than that.
And so I had a situation recently where we put it, as James described earlier on, with a guide price, which is sort of fully behind that process.
Yeah.
But I have to say it was significantly more successful than any of us anticipated.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a good thing, but we had in like 4 days over 100 inquiries.
Yeah.
I did over 60 viewings in one Saturday afternoon on the property.
Yeah.
And actually I thought that maybe if we could now move this across to an auction, because we ended up with 19 offers, it perhaps would have been a better process just to go, okay, let's just pause this for a second. Clearly got crazy interest. We did get a good result where it was on for a guide of 650 to 7 and we got 740 in the end.
Yeah.
But I actually think we could have probably ended up with more if it was more transparent. Is there a route where if we have taken the normal route that we can then perhaps switch it over to you?
No problem at all. No problem at all. So if you've got a sale that's fallen through or a property that's stuck on the market and the vendor needs that speed and security, it's something to have on a conversation with on a vendor conversation. You do your check-ins on a weekly. Can I just check with you, Mr. Smith, as your circumstances change? Or you need to get moving quicker? Or are you happy to have a conversation with my partner? So we use very soft terminology around it. It's my colleague. So when James,
I was talking more specifically in this scenario where we've suddenly got a great result and we're like, I mean, I think a lot of people are not, particularly buyers, obviously not particularly fond of like best and finals, which is sometimes necessary. But actually to avoid that scenario, the transparency of an auction, I think, is actually a good thing. Everyone knows where they stand. There's no place.
The best ones for us are the ones that you don't need us for. The ones that are going to go to best and finals are sealed bids, because you and I know how many times have you sold a property and somebody's turned around and said, I would have paid more, or it's gone to best and finals and they've pulled out.
But in this scenario, we got 740, so we got a good price and the seller was happy. But actually, someone came to me afterwards and said, "Oh, I'm considering offering 750," and I actually think that some other people would have gone higher.
And we can share the bids, so we tell everybody what the other bids are on the table. We're allowed to do that, unlike yourself.
Yeah, of course. What I'm saying is that if we did this and we had this scenario, we could switch over to you quite easily.
Yeah, no problem at all.
It's basically about a week, you're saying, then to get it. Yeah. Okay.
But you could be advertising it from day one. So what the decision you guys would probably make with leasehold properties is, do you want to start marketing before the management pack is in? Some agents want to market straight away, some don't, some want to hold fire. So again, it is talking to your auction specialist, deciding how much interest you're going to get is when we launch it. Some agents, like with something like that, if it comes straight to the market and it's going to be incredibly busy, this one, and you want people bidding straight away, it might be a case of, let's get the pack completed, let's get it ready to launch, and on launch day we can sell it from day one. So then the pack is ready, we've got the levels of interest, we can set an auction cycle maybe for a week, 10 days. So you've hit the ground running, you've got 3 open days. On day 10, you know it's going to sell.
Yeah.
Hey, Hayley, just another question for myself. I don't know if you're going to go into the articulation on the slide yet. Is that going to be in the next part of the presentation, on how to basically communicate this method of buying to a buyer? Because as far as what you've mentioned from the fee perspective, it's going to be paid by them. So
Yes.
Is that the next bit? Because that's something which I've. Okay, great. I'll leave it, because that's one. To be honest, the concept of auction itself, and actually with guide pricing, we're kind of doing it already as well. Me and the post people that follow that and do guide pricing. Where I've found it hard in my mind is to be able to articulate this method to a buyer so that they can understand. Like, so for example, if you had an open market sale like Josh just described there, where it's got huge amounts of interest and quite frankly it's probably going above the actual value, then you get into a point to then say, well, actually you've got it for a great price, or you've managed to win it, but now you've got to pay the fee for buying it because the seller's not paying it, because most buyers don't understand that or won't understand it. But if you, I'll leave you to let us know.
Do you want to jump in, Tom?
Quite a good time for me to finally get my sound back. Apologies about that, everyone. And a big thank you to Hayley, who I sent the link to with 2 minutes to go and said, I can't hear anyone on this call. And that's, I don't think I could run it off the caption. So apologies about that. And yeah, I'm not going to steal too much of your thunder, Hayley, because you've done a good job so far from what I've been reading on the captions following. So yeah, I think with purchasers, most people that we speak to, their initial thought process is that there is no way on earth that a purchaser will pay money to buy a house, but they will. We currently sell around about 1.7% of all transactions in the UK take place through our network at the moment. What a buyer won't do is they'll make, so in this scenario, let's use this live example that we're talking about. So it's sold for 740. What I don't think would have happened potentially is that someone would have bid 740 and then paid the reservation fee in addition. So a buyer will typically factor the reservation into what they are prepared to pay for the property, in the same way that they would do stamp duty and other associated costs. So what we're saying to a seller is, and the sellers that identify as being suitable for the secure sale is that they are willing to accept an element of a trade-off between the price they receive and the security of the deal. So the way I sometimes would frame that is that if on sale agree, you could sell a vendor an insurance policy, like an indemnity, that says, if you pay, let's call it 2.5%, right? So let's assume your fee's around about 2%. Would you pay an additional fee of 2.5% to know that the buyer is not going to pull out and that they're contracted to complete within 56 days? Vendors that would ultimately say yes to that question are the ones that we're likely to be able to help. The vendors to say no to that question, I'm prepared to take the risk knowing that private treaty can take this amount of time and has this opportunity to fall through. They're more price focused. Now, what we do find in that scenario where you've got, let's say, 19 offers, it's a far more buyer friendly approach, because they're in control of how many times they place an offer, and they're also in control of how much they spend. Best and finals, to some extent, is best based on the information that I have available to me, which is your marketing price. That's it. And that's sometimes where buyers can leave a bit of a sour taste in their mouth, because there's just an assumption that potentially you know the person that's bought it and you've told them what the highest offer is. And, you know, when someone's disappointed, they're always looking for someone to blame. And ultimately, they can't necessarily blame the vendor. So they blame the agent. So ultimately, the way we will explain it to them, and we're happy for you to hand off all buyer inquiries to us, by the way, because that's what the team are there to do. That's what they're trained on. That's what they deal with day in, day out. And they deal with lots of objections. And the objections usually come from people that either just don't understand the process and how it works, or they are physically unable to do it because all of their money might be tied up in a related sale, or proceeds from something coming through. And in those scenarios, we can still deal with those people. That's where something called special conditions comes in, which is a whole different talking point. The key thing is that if we've got a ready, willing, enabled buyer, a ready, willing, enabled seller, we can be really flexible to help them transact. We have a scenario at the moment where we've got a deal going through. Purchaser has sold their property to a cash buyer. They're probably 2 to 3 weeks away from exchanging. Most of the inquiries are done. They've reserved a property conditional of their property exchanging, and they've paid us half of the fee up front. And that fee is refundable in the event that their purchaser walks away. So that's a special condition we've put in place. The seller signed off on it because they're happy with the value of the transaction. It's not quite as secure as someone putting all the money down non-refundable, but that lack of security has come with that purchaser paying a premium price. So that's where the trade-off comes in. And we are happy and can manage all of that process. Where you might find buyer objections is on the booking of the viewing. So I've seen that it's for sale by auction. What does that mean? I've seen there's a fee payable. Some agents that have had a few transactions are quite comfortable in having those conversations of what it's about. But if you're not, got an auction specialist managing the property, helping me with this, when would be a good time for them to give you a call? And we can take all of that on.
Cool. I think we've got a few questions. Matt and John. Matt, you go first.
Hey guys, a quick question. So if you have a vendor who is looking to sell through auction, but they have yet to find, is there any way, talking about different conditions, is there any way that the transaction can be delayed whereby what your purchaser will exchange contracts or commit, but delay completion for X amount of days, weeks, months?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways actually we could deal with that, Matt. So one of the options is to put a special condition in to say that the reservation period is going to be longer. So instead of 56 days, we would need to stipulate a time, because there would need to be, I suppose, an opportunity for a buyer to walk away if the vendor never did find anything at all. So it's not unheard of.
So that's a long stop date, essentially, is it? So, 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line. Or
yeah. So it could be 90 days. It could be 120 days. We're actually in the process of making some tweaks to our reservation periods, actually, because what we found is that the leasehold properties on average are actually taking a little bit longer than the 56 days. And more often than not, we're having to grant some extensions. So we're looking at creating what we were going to refer to as dynamic reservation periods, which for certain property types will be a little bit longer. For other property types, they may well be a little bit shorter as well. But another product that we're actually going to be launching as part of the Move Butler onboarding is our sale ready proposition. Now, what that is for ultimately chain properties, but you can legally prepare them like we do with auction up front. So it's a product that we've actually had within our network for a couple of years now, but we've uncoupled it from our core conveyancing offering and we've made it its own solution. So with that, we can do all of the stuff that we do with auction. You would still manage the process and you would sell it by private treaty, but you've got all of that pack ready and available to have that element of security. The data on that at the moment is that it's a 7% cancellation rate and a 90-day turnaround from sale agreed to completion. So that's a proposition that's coming in June. We'll be at the conference talking to people about that because that's sort of when it's launching. And that effectively will give you 3 or 4 options, essentially: a private treaty, sale ready, secure sale modern method, which ultimately is more suitable for no chain. We do deal with vendors quite often where they actually might be prepared to break the chain and go into rented to liquidate that asset. So that's something we would talk to them about as well. But there are technically some flexibilities if need be, as long as we know up front. Yeah.
Can everyone hear Tom, by the way?
Yeah.
I think Michelle said that she can't quite hear Tom, but I think I can hear Tom. Josh, you got a question?
Yeah, Tom, just that last point, talking about the sale ready thing, just going back to my sort of question from earlier, presumably if you've taken the vendor down that route with you guys of the sale ready, that in the event that you do have this slightly unexpected scenario, it then becomes quite easy to switch that over to an auction because it's the same thing we've had.
Yeah. So look, we're the biggest. We prepare about 25,000 auction packs a year for our core business, and we know that one of the challenges in the market is around getting more information up front to avoid buyers changing their mind when this information comes post sale. So we've addressed that with the sale ready proposition. At the moment, it's referred to as a premium conveyancing product. But what we've actually found is that vendors look at that and just go, well, it's expensive conveyancing rather than actually a tangible product that improves the opportunity for the customer journey. But absolutely, yeah, it would be the same company doing the pack. So it's very, very easy for us to then just flip that into an auction structure. We do actually have some agents within some of our networks that don't do private treaty anymore. They just do sale ready and auction because they want to know that, you know, the dealer's got a less than a 10% chance of falling through, knowing that there's a lot of work to go into it. So as I say, there will be quite a lot more information coming about that, but I just thought it was worth mentioning to sort of complement some of the points of discussion.
Nice. And you'll come on to the fees, how it works for the agents at some point, won't you, Hayley, about how the EXP IAM fees work?
Yeah, do you want to pick that one up, Hayley?
Yeah, so how it works is, as I say, after they've signed the agreement, you'll do the marketing and do the viewings. We'll do everything else, the viewing feedbacks, the sale negotiation, the auction live and sale agreed. The buyers are paying a 4.5%, including VAT, on completion, because most of your properties are going to be over 400,000. But if a property is less than 400,000, we'll pay you within 7 days of sale agreed. Otherwise, it's on completion, you'll get 50% of the fee. So that's 2.25%, including VAT, subject to a minimum of 3,300, which obviously is going to be more the high end for you guys. If you're not VAT registered, that's 1.89%.
Matt, question?
Last one, I promise, guys. So in terms of auction days or dates, is this something like a traditional auction house whereby there is a date in June where you are auctioning multiple properties around the UK, or is this a sort of like a running thing where it's I suppose it's live at all times? It's
a running thing. So as I say, as soon as they sign the agreement, we go into pre-auction marketing. That's when we start marketing the property and doing the viewings on it. While we're getting the pack together, we're understanding the level of interest on the property. When the pack is ready is then we make a decision on if we're going to sell it before the live auction or we're going to set an auction live. If we've got a couple of people want to buy it, it might be 3 days. If there's loads of interest and still more viewings, it might be a couple of weeks. So every property is flexible and bespoke to each property. So it depends on level of interest. There's no fixed time scales.
Perfect. Thanks. If you'd already said that, I apologize for missing it.
No problem at all.
Josh?
Sorry, I won't promise this is the last question. But what happens if there's a down val? What's the scenario there, or other reasons, I suppose, that a buyer could pull out, and what money do they get back, and where does a seller stand? I suppose there's probably someone in second place to fall back on, but yeah, how does that all work?
We'll go and have a conversation with the vendor. Ultimately, it's up to the vendor if they wish to accept it. The buyer has agreed to purchase at that price. If they do pull out, they'll lose the reservation fee. It's as simple as that, because they've chosen to pull out if the sale's downvalued. If there's something, though, the vendor has hidden from us, so the vendor knew it had structural issues and that wasn't disclosed, it would then go to the agent. Will have a conversation with you. We also have an ethics committee that sit once a week. If the vendor is withhold the information, we might find that the best thing to protect your reputation is that we refund the buyer on that. you want to add anything to that, Tom?
Yeah, I think we have quite a rigid process that sits outside of our sales team in terms of, you know, the moral element of this. The intention clearly is to find a ready, willing, and able purchaser and facilitate that through. We do encourage people to get surveys done before bidding to avoid that scenario. I mean, ultimately, if it sells for 740 and it's down val to 720, the chances are, even if we put it back on the market and it's a mortgage buyer, the same thing will happen again anyway. So sometimes it's a re-education piece with the seller around, well, actually, this is what the bank is saying it's worth in today's market. And once that precedent has been set, it can be quite difficult to unravel. So it comes back to the seller's circumstances ultimately. I'd say 9 times out of 10, if there is a down val like this, the sellers take it. Sometimes there's a bit of a negotiation to say, well, you know, could the buyer chuck a little bit more in as a deposit up front to sort of up the price? But in the main, we're dealing with those those move focused sellers and accepts that the down val is the evidence. We don't get many though, if I'm honest, and we are surprised sometimes when something is like, yeah, it gets 150 bids and you're almost thinking that's pretty high for what's transacted in the area. But whether the surveyors look at it and go, well, it's sold through auction, it's competitive bidding, or their mindset might be, well, it must be cheap if it's sold through auction. We do find that we're quite lucky with some of them. The ones that do get down val, sometimes we'll push back and say, well, hang on a minute, we've got these 3 that have all transacted at 750, 760, and you're not agreeing with 740, and we do sometimes overcome that as well.
Do we have the control, like when you said before about we might want to think of our reputation and refunding the fee? I mean, obviously, do we have that control? Is that in our hands?
You're factored in, Josh. I think ultimately, whilst contractually we could turn around and say it's non-refundable, you know, if you disagree with that, then that's our relationship finished. So we would take a longer term approach that says, well, look, if you want to refund that, then you know, we would support it, and that ultimately is part of the ethics process, which ultimately would be fed through sort of Hayley and I or one of the team. Is that, look, the agent actually has gone on record and said they want to refund it. If that's the case, then it will be refunded.
No problem. Thank you.
I'll ask a quick question. So you just mentioned that the fees that charged to the buyer are 4.5%. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say if I've got something on that, let's call it $1 million, and it wants to sell, so that's 45 grand, right? Is that right?
Yep.
That's my calculation. So I've got something at the moment, it's $500,000, so you're looking at what, 22,000. So if you've got the sort of the standard buyer pool, which are the first time buyer sector, who then see this go online, it looks attractive, we've got it priced well, we've got photography looking good, we get a lot of interest, and then these people are calling up, and then often, no matter what you put in descriptions or whatever it is that you write on, you know, I've got places that are cash only, and you get loads of people calling and they want mortgages. So then I've got to then explain to them, obviously, what would you advise to say to these people? Because if you're looking at the rates are at the moment on mortgages plus your stamp duty and your deposit, I can't see many buyers having another 20 odd grand in ready cash to put down to buy that property. Yeah. So what would be your advice to speak to buyers to try? I mean, I just can't see many people having that extra cash to buy it.
It's a really good question at a really good time, because there is another way. So whilst under normal circumstances, we charge a reservation fee in addition to the purchase price, we are also able to change the terms of the transaction and take a deposit from the purchaser. The key difference being is that a deposit becomes part of the chargeable consideration and it forms part payment of the purchase price. So in that scenario, we recontract with the seller that instead of the buyer paying the fee, the seller pays the fee. The fee that the seller pays is the deposit that the buyer pays up front. But that means that in that scenario, if the auction ended at, let's say, 600, that would be the purchase price, and there would be a deposit payable, which would be deducted from the balance and forms part of the mortgage deposit. So in that scenario, to answer the question, what you would say is that the purchasing options are very, very flexible if you have a nominal deposit value. So go and view it. make sure you like it, and then we can have a conversation about how we structure the deal.
I always call it, do you remember back in the day we used to do vendor paid deposits?
Mhm.
So we used to inflate the price. That's how we work it, isn't it, effectively, Tom?
It's essentially how a private treaty sale works, because the agent fee is incorporated into the price that the buyer pays. So it's the same process, but we just take that value up front. We then normally would give that to the solicitor acting for the seller, because it's a deposit which is technically the seller's money, but it becomes payable as a fee at the point of either it falling through or completing.
So does that mean the price, so in that scenario of 600 grand, the 4.5% fee is 27 grand? Does that effectively mean that the sale price is 627?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but the bidding on the website would be at 627, because we would have changed the terms on the website. So the bidding would be as per the price. Yeah.
So the buyer would still pay a deposit on exchange of contracts. We'd give that deposit back to their solicitors to use for the transaction.
Okay, so it just inflates the price basically, and makes it in a sort of the way that things would normally be, basically, that the seller's paying it, but the fee's covered.
Yeah.
Chris?
Hi there, guys. Yeah, my question actually just got answered at the last bit that Hayley mentioned there. So yeah, I was just thinking from a new home's point of view, when a client is exchanging contracts, they're paying like a fee, well, not fee, but 10, 15, 20% deposit, and then they're going through to completion. That's probably something quite similar to this.
Yeah, so we're just using the deposit in a different way. It just sits in a client's ring-fenced team, a client's ring-fenced account, a client account. So the money is classed as a deposit rather than a reservation agreement. It's just our wording is different.
Yeah, just for clarity though, so they would be paying the 4.5% plus VAT plus a reservation fee.
No, they will pay a deposit rather than a reservation fee.
One or the other.
Okay, one or the other, yeah.
The documentation they can take to the mortgage broker, it'll be a deposit agreement. They'll do the mortgage application as per normal.
Yeah, and that deposit that they pay is refundable.
Depends on the conditions. So
on the conditions, right?
It's typically non-refundable, subject to any special conditions agreed. Yeah, between parties. Yeah, and as I say, I think you can go down a rabbit hole with this stuff, because there's loads of different ways you can structure stuff. But that's why we're here. That's where our sales teams come in and have all the training on and the understanding of it, and they'll have conversations with brokers in order to help facilitate it. So whilst it might sound a bit overwhelming and oh my god, there's quite a lot of stuff to remember, you don't actually have to retain any of that part of the information. It's just, I suppose, the understanding that it can be done, so that when you're at a listing appointment, you think, well, okay, yeah, my buyer pool's probably likely to be first-time buyer, 5 or 10% deposit, suitability for auctions there, but actually I'm just worried that I haven't got a buyer pool for it. It's just to kind of break that barrier down.
So got a question, Chris?
No.
No, okay.
No, I have a question. Thank you.
Cool. Back to you guys, Hayley and Tom. Or was that everything finished? Or
do you want to do the slides, Tom? Have I lost Tom?
Well, Matt.
Whilst we're waiting for Tom, will there be? I lied about my last question. Will there be a PDF brochure or document that you guys will be able to supply to us as agents, so that when we do broach this subject with clients and they say, "Well, I don't want to hear from them just yet. If you've got any information, we can email them."
I've got EXP branded sellers guides, buyers guides, timelines that shows the 3 different options for selling. We can also tailor them to you as well. So if you want them with your name rather than EXP fully branded in your colours, we can do that for you as well.
100%, that's what I'd want.
So we have loads of extra marketing as well. So we have a lot of agents use our probate selling service documentation. So if you want to catch up after this meeting, I can go through some examples we can get branded up for you to help with your social media strategy as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Hayley. That's really useful.
Let me just, the Tom slide. Sorry.
No, that'd be great if you can give us some market material for let's obviously reach out to our clients regarding obviously
Yeah, no
So-
problem at all. We can do
So
that
you're
for
gonna
you.
is there another meeting after this then? Just oh, no. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And only because you mentioned that obviously after this you want to stay on. That's all.
No, I think no.
Okay, no worries. That's fine.
I think I've pretty much run through everything. As I say, it's a lot to take in all at once. There is
Yeah,
the
no, of course.
bite-sized training. James has got my number he can share with you at any point.
Okay.
If you want to catch up, send me also as I say, your artwork and get things individualized and tailored for you. But it's going to be a constant conversation. You're not going to stop learning until you start selling them this way.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I've been involved in 2 transactions. I'm still learning about them, but don't feel that you are by yourself. Get Hayley and the IAM team involved ASAP. Yeah, super responsive WhatsApps. And I'm going to be definitely trying to be using this a lot more, because thinking about the clients, a lot of my clients, I should have recommended this to them. Now it's a very long conveyancing and the buyer's putting out being shit. There's so many examples where I could have used this that would have been much better for the client in many situations as well.
And if you're not confident in the property, feel free to ring me, put me on loudspeaker, and I'll chat to your clients with you.
Amazing. Any other questions, guys? I think all done. Awesome. Hayley, Tom, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll share your number in the group. I have recorded this video, so I'll send it around the group once again. But yeah, for everyone involved, yeah, thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming.
Reach out to Hayley and get these modern method of sale.
Or secure sale.
Secure sale transactions going forward. Amazing. Lots
Thanks,
to learn.
guys. Bye.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Hayley. Take care. Bye.